After Syria, every mullah is for himself. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala al-mab'uthi rahmatan lil'alameen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa azwajihi ajma'ina amma ba'd. For centuries, for a very long time, the Shia had dreams of controlling Mecca and Medina. What better platform to reach Muslims all over the world than Mecca and Medina, visited by countless Muslims every year from all corners of the world for Hajj and Umrah. And the Shia believe that having access to Mecca and Medina and control, it means they are going to spread the Shia religion all over the world. Simple, isn't it? Also, controlling Mecca and Medina is revenge against Islam itself. You see, the Shia believe the Quran was changed and corrupted. They don't believe in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam because they don't believe in the companions who received and transmitted the Quran and Sunnah from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the companions of Muhammad radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, and they accuse Aisha of being a Zaniya, and the companions of being all kuffar except for 14. They want to take revenge on Islam because their religion is not Islam. What Muslim doesn't believe in the Quran and Sunnah and the companions? That's not a Muslim. So this is the second benefit. Money, of course, is always on their minds. There are other reasons. Let's talk about these three today, especially the first one. Sorry, the asthma. So, spreading the Shia religion is a part of the psyche, the dream of the Shia. And through Mecca and Medina, they believe it will be it. Success. They can reach all Muslims now through Mecca and Medina. So they always had designs on Mecca and Medina, and they've been working on it very hard for centuries and centuries. When Khomeini, don't smile when you say his name, when Khomeini took over Iran, they put into action the current Shia design on Mecca and Medina. First of all, Khomeini suppressed the Muslims in Iran. The Iranian, Persian, Sunnis, Muslims, Turks, Blush, Arab, Turks, I said it. What about all the other nations that are in Iran who are not Shia? The Muslims, they suppressed them very, very harshly. And they wanted to spread Shi'ism, the Shia religion, into outside of Iran. They spent tens of years on that, and Allah knows how many billions of dollars. In the meantime, the economy of Iran collapsed to a significant extent, and because they're concentrating on taking their religion, causing trouble among Muslims, taking their religion to other areas and controlling other areas. They're not worried about the people in Iran itself, including the Shia, because always the ruling elite are the ones who benefit. Well, anyway, they didn't care if these people had adequate access to food, money, medicine, water. Their dream was to start expanding the empire step by step. You had first the Iraq-Iran war. Then Afghanistan was invaded by America, causing the death of hundreds of thousands of Muslims. Iraq was invaded by America and the West, causing the death of hundreds of thousands of Muslims. Both in Afghanistan and Iraq, millions of Muslims had to leave and escape from the carnage. Then Bush, Cheney gave Iraq to Iran as a gift for free, furnished with lots of oil, and they took it. Of course, they started a vicious, violent campaign of terror, death and destruction against the Muslims in Iraq. So many of them left the country, hundreds of thousands were killed, and they control Iraq. Now, in Lebanon, they had Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah, by the way, in the early 80s, nobody heard about him and his group. Hizb al-Mut'a, Hizb al-Shaytan, Hizb al-Lat, Hizb Allah. Nobody heard about them. They were gradually building up their group. So Iran now had an opportunity. In Syria, there are the Alawis. Actually, the Nusayris. The Nusayris, who worship Ali ibn Abi Talib, were in control in Syria. It's the French, during their occupation of France, they actually promoted the name Alawis. They didn't invent it, but they promoted the name. So the Iranians thought that to build the empire from the borders of Afghanistan, and the western part of Afghanistan, by the way, is filled with Shia, lots of them. Iran, of course, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria is very important to make it an entire empire. The empire of Kisra, again, even though Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that when Kisra dies, the last one during his time, during the time of his companions, then there is no more Kisra after that, but they want to bring Kisra back. Syria was a very important part, but it's under the Alawis, the Nusayris, Shia, Ja'faris. Of course, in Syria you have the Druze, the Ismailis. The Ismailis are Shia, and they tried to assassinate Salah ad-Din during the besiege of Akka when he was fighting the Crusaders. The Nusayris, since 1971, became in total control of Syria when Hafez al-Assad removed all other groups from government and he became the leader. Now, there is a history between the Nusayri Ja'fari Shia and the Ja'fari Shia, especially in Iran. How bad are you being a Shia that the Shia call you a kafir? You must be really, really terrible, especially if those who are calling you a kafir are kafir themselves, the Ja'faris. No Quran, no Sunnah, no companions who promoted the Quran and Sunnah to the world and practiced it. And Aisha became a Zaniya. So if anyone thinks that this is a definition of a Muslim, then you should recheck your ID, your Muslim ID. So Syria was a major part of their dream, and the Alawis, while Hafez al-Assad was alive, and a half of the time since 2000, 2011, Bashar didn't need Iran. They had relations, but they always despised each other. Then the uprising started 2011, and it led to division in Syria. The Alawis and their supporters killed 600,000 Muslims. Countless of them disappeared or put in jail. Did you see the images? Keep them here. Don't forget them. And close to 10 million, maybe more, Sunnis left their homes inside the country or to other countries outside of Syria. But his regime was getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and to the point that he needed help. He turned to who? He didn't turn to the Sunnis, of course, because Nusayris know that the Sunnis believe they are kuffar because they are kuffar. And Nusayris believe that the Sunnis are kuffar. And the Nusayris believe that the Ja'faris of Iran and Iraq are kuffar. And the Ja'faris believe that the Nusayris are kuffar, which is the closest kafir, Iran. So they invited Iran to come and support the regime in Syria. They also invited Putin. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to gather Putin with Bashar al-Assad in the same place on the day when they go back to him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they will. One day they will, like everyone dies. So he needed help. He was weakened and he needed help. The mullahs of Iran went crazy. This is the dream, half of the dream, to have the Kisra empire again from the borders of Afghanistan, through Iran, through Iraq, through Syria and Lebanon, where Hezbollah worked slowly. Nobody knew about Hezbollah, by the way. Hezb al-Shaytan, Hezb al-Lat, Hezb al-Mut'a, Hassan Nasr al-Shaytan, Nasr al-Lat, Nasrullah, that's his name. He doesn't deserve it. Nobody knew about them in the 1980s because he was building their group and their presence in Lebanon slowly until they took over and suppressed the Muslims in Lebanon very badly. They prevented any attack by the Palestinians on the Jews because they're in control. And when the Jews invaded Lebanon, it was their area that they dominated, that they disputed with Israel. It wasn't about Palestine, never was. So he wanted help. Hezbollah, that killed so many Muslims in Lebanon and prevented any defense against the Jews from those areas. Not a single soldier from Hezbollah went into Palestine after they lured the leadership of Hamas to attack the Jews. Not even one soldier. However, when the Shia needed help against the Sunnis, they were there. They sent between 20 and 30,000 fighters from Lebanon to Syria, and they killed so many Muslims. Men, women, and children. Torture. They stole. They expelled. They did so much damage among the Muslims in Syria. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy them all for the inhumanity that they demonstrated in Syria. Putin always wanted, and Russia, since before the communist revolution, they always wanted access to warm waters. And he gave them what? He gave them Tartus and gave them Ladiqiyah. They had finally their base in the or on the Mediterranean. And he went his air force. He sent his air force there and to defend Bashar in return for these bases. they killed so many Muslims, like they did before in Chechnya and other areas. So many Muslims, especially in Halab. Carpet bombing, untold number of Muslims were killed, destruction, entire areas. To imagine what this criminal pig did to Syria, imagine what this criminal pig did to other Christians, Slavs like them, Christians in Ukraine. And Russia kept saying that the Russian people came from Kiev, ala kefak. But imagining what he did to the Ukrainians would give you an idea about what he did to the Muslims in Syria, maybe 10 times. See? Lebanon, Hezbollah suppressed Islam and Muslims in Lebanon, suppressed any fighting against the Jews by the Palestinians at a minimum. And Syria weakened, they needed help, then Iran came. Iran was just, like I said, they went crazy. They want Syria. They thought this is their time, this is their chance, and the empire is coming. They sent so many soldiers and officers to organize the killing of the Muslims in Syria. So much killing. Expulsion, theft of land, homes and farms. You see, the Iranian Shia, and whenever you hear me say Iranian, I'm talking about the Shia. I'm not talking about our Muslim Sunni brother Iranians, Pharisees, Furs in Iran. They are our brothers and sisters. They're Muslims. I'm talking about the Shia. So these people in Iran, the Shia, as I said, this is their dream. And they came to kill the Muslims in Syria. And they did to Syria what the Jews did to us in Palestine. Settling in areas where Muslims were killed or evacuated, expelled, little by little. That was their dream. They were sending so many Iranian, Ja'fari, kuffar to settle in Syria, especially since between 10 and 12 million Muslims had to depart Syria. And so they think it's just empty land to establish the kingdom of Kisra again. Because they didn't believe in Islam. The religion is not Islam. It always was about revenge against Muslims, the companions, for bringing Islam to their area and destroying the Kisra who they used to worship before. Anyway, their dream. So they wanted to settle in Syria. And the plan was working until just 2 weeks ago. Of course, Bashar al-Assad still had 200,000 to 300,000 soldiers. His army wasn't completely, weakened. They still could kill. They did kill, of course, with support and help from Putin, Khamenei, Hassan Nasrallah. They killed 600,000 Muslims in Syria, millions expelled. But his army wasn't like it used to be. And he needed help. So he surrendered to Iran. And Iran was working, of course, through Lebanon. And he thought he's in there. Khalas, he's not going anywhere. If you look at the images of his palace when he ran away, it seems he wasn't thinking at all that he's going to lose. Look at the palace and all the cars. He thinks he's Jay Leno or something. All these cars, Maserati and Ferrari and whatever. All the food. But it's still neat, the whole place, because he didn't think he's going to have to leave it. Subhanallah. His father took over Syria 1971. He was in government. He removed all other sects and gave the government completely to the Nusayri sect that Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and 90 other major scholars of Islam, including Ibn Baz and Al-Albani, called kuffar. Ibn Taymiyyah actually said they're more kuffar than the Jews, the Christians, the mushrikeen, and the fire worshippers. So the Nusayris in Syria, they're kuffar. He's a Nusayri. They don't believe in anything. Allah knows what they believe in. They worship Ali ibn Abi Talib. Inshallah, we'll talk about their creed if Allah allows us. So he didn't think he's going to lose it. He was just sitting there. And then from 1971 to 2-3 weeks ago, they thought we're sitting here, and a large segment of the Alawi Nusayri sect supported the government in their brutality. Also, many so-called Sunnis, Shabiha, supported the regime. But many Alawis did not benefit. Many of them didn't like this Al-Assad family. Anyway, so they thought he's sitting there, not going anywhere. 71 all the way to just 3 weeks ago. Count how many years they thought they were sitting and not going anywhere. Then Allah's decision came. And what happened in Gaza is that the leadership of Hamas was lured into attacking the Jews because we're going to support you. We're behind you. Yeah, we're behind you, but actually our back is to your back so that we can run in the opposite direction. But anyway, we're behind you. We'll support you. They didn't send a single soldier to help the Palestinians. Iran never fought the Jews or Americans. Hezbollah didn't send soldiers to support the people of Gaza. People of Gaza didn't support them at all. However, when they sent soldiers to kill the Muslims in Syria, Hassan Nasrallah sent between 20 to 30,000 fighters. Not even 100 went into Palestine to fight the Jews to relieve the pressure on our Muslim brothers and sisters in Gaza. So 71 all the way until 3 weeks ago, what happened? So what happened in Gaza is that the Jews, Netanyahu doesn't want to go to jail, just like Trump, and he's willing to destroy the whole country by fighting everybody so he doesn't have to go to jail and other things. So this time they seriously damaged Hezbollah to the point that they killed the leadership and many fighters. Don't buy beepers from the companies that have relationship with the Jews. Just a reminder. I don't know who uses beepers anymore, but Hezbollah was. So they destroyed the leadership and hit them very hard until Hezbollah surrendered, betrayed Gaza, and the leadership of Gaza, Hamas, was also wiped out, and said, okay, take care of yourself, ma'a salama, and they made peace with the Jews. Iran, that was supporting, of course, Hezbollah, and what's happening in Syria, they never sent any soldiers to help the Palestinians, but they sent so many to Syria to take over Muslim land and make it a Shia land. And the Jews were hitting them over the years because it's a challenge of power. It's not about Palestine. It's about control. After what happened in Gaza, the Jews also hit Iran very hard, and that made the Shia leadership in Iran realize that it's not worth it. As for Putin, the man who did to Halab 10 times or more than what he did to Ukraine, the Christians, Slavs, history between them, look what he did, think 10 times what he did in Halab, the carpet bombing, the destruction. So the West was bleeding Russia in the Ukraine, and he needed those two bases that they started in Syria. And the Russians always, for centuries, wanted access to warm waters. And it was their opportunity when Bashar al-Assad said, hey, come, give you Ladiqiyah and Tartus, and you can have bases there. And they started bases. he had to take much of the weaponry from there so he can still keep killing Ukraine. And Bashar al-Assad is just a fly. Putin doesn't care about him. Anyway, so the weakness was with regards to Russia in Ukraine. Iran spent so much, their economy is really in bad shape, because anytime you want the destruction of an economy, give it to a mullah to manage. And also Israel hit them very hard. Israel hit the Iranians and Syria, the Shia, very hard. They hit Lebanon very hard. And when I say Israel, it's the West. Israel is just a commercial enterprise that West started in that area. Anyway, so they said also to Hezbollah, مع السلامة, and they said to Bashar, مع السلامة. So this is some kind of a unique situation that didn't happen in 2011. I was always against the rebellions that people call the Arab Spring. They led to disasters, each one of them, including in Syria. Anyway, this time the leadership of the Muslim Sunnis in Syria thought that this is our chance. Russia, they're concentrating on Ukraine. They took much of the weaponry. Hezbollah surrendered to the Jews, and they don't have the power to go help Bashar al-Assad anymore. Iran is in very bad situation, including militarily, and they are not willing to fight for Bashar al-Assad. And Bashar fell within 10 days. From 1971 all the way to 3 weeks ago, Bashar fell within 10 days. La ilaha illallah. So they struck actually at a very what can I say? Good time. It's a good time that they start this. They brought down the government in Syria of the Nusayris and those who supported them. It was the time for them to act, really, because all the supporters of Bashar al-Assad, they were in really bad shape. Now, la ilaha illallah. So, before I give the summary, I want to say something here. Brothers and sisters, my name is Jalal Abualrub, Jalalabualrub. Allah bless me and my family to produce more than 70 books so far, thousands of articles, all about Islam, all in English. Imam Ibn Baz rahimahullah said that those who write in defense and explanation of Islam deserve a part of the zakah. So we deserve a part of zakat al-mal. Also, don't pay your taxes to the American government that will send the money to the Jews to kill our Muslim brothers in Gaza. Before you pay every charity you can, you're allowed to. First you pay the charity, then if you have to send the taxes, you send the taxes. But we have a 501c. Why don't you help our Dawah project? Our website is islamlife.com, ISLAMLIFE, islamlife.com. My email, islamlife@gmail.com. Facebook, islamlife2. YouTube channel, islamlife2. On the website, islamlife.com, please donate. For Allah's sake, help us so we can continue working. We are doing so many aspects of da'wah that, wallah, sometimes I'm thinking if Allah extends the time every day into 50 hours, I'm gonna work 2-3 times what I'm working already. And still we have so much to do. Please donate, support us, help us. The summary. Because of what happened in Syria, and alhamdulillah, Allah gave Syria back to the Muslims and destroyed the plan of the Ja'faris, the design to restart the Kisra Empire from the borders of Afghanistan all the way to the Mediterranean. Every mullah is now for himself. Every mullah is saying, I'm just going to take care of my mullahship. I don't want to lose it. So Iran is concentrating on themselves. I hope they get out of Iraq very soon. So Muslims have good news for a change. So what's the summary? After Syria, every mullah is for himself. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.